We have explained that the Ghost Fleet was a problem for all of us because it allowed financing of Russia's war effort. On January 22, the French Navy carried out a major maritime interception in the Mediterranean Sea, stopping a Russian-operated oil tanker suspected of violating international sanctions and evading trade restrictions. According to French officials, the vessel is believed to be part of Russia's so-called Shadow Fleet, a network of ships allegedly used to continue exporting sanctioned oil under concealed ownership and falsified documentation. French maritime authorities identified the intercepted vessel as the Grinch, which they suspect was operating under a false flag in a calculated attempt to avoid detection and scrutiny by international monitoring agencies. Reports from NBC News revealed that the Grinch had been flying the flag of the Comoros Islands, a small nation off East Africa's coast, a registration widely viewed as a front to mask the tanker's Russian connections. According to Reuters, the vessel had sailed from the Arctic port of Murmansk in northern Russia before making its covert journey south toward the Mediterranean, raising suspicions about its cargo and declared destination. Eventually, French naval forces, in coordination with European maritime patrols, intercepted the tanker in the western Mediterranean, just off the coast of Spain, after extensive tracking and surveillance efforts. The French Navy confirmed that the operation received support from the navies of other allied countries, including the United Kingdom, highlighting growing multinational coordination against Russia's sanction evasion efforts. Following the seizure, Russia's embassy in Paris issued a swift statement accusing France of acting without prior notification or consultation. A protest reported by TASS, reflecting heightened diplomatic tensions between the two nations. Russian embassy in Paris said, quote, "French authorities have not shared any information with the Russian embassy either about the boarding of the tanker or the composition of its crew. Jointly with diplomats from the Consulate General in Marseilles, we are currently looking into whether there may be Russian citizens among the crew so we can render any necessary assistance." In September 2025, French naval forces detained another Russian-linked oil tanker, the Boracay, which had also been suspected of violating international sanctions. However, the vessel was released after a brief inquiry, citing a lack of conclusive evidence. France's latest at-sea interception of a Russian vessel now mirrors earlier U.S. operations against tankers connected to Venezuelan oil shipments, signaling a coordinated Western effort to clamp down on sanction evasion through maritime routes. The most high-profile of those American actions came when the Trump administration targeted the tanker Marinera, formerly known as Bella 1, accusing it of transporting Venezuelan crude in violation of U.S. sanctions. Washington and its allies have, to date, seized a total of 7 sanctioned tankers linked to Venezuela's oil trade, underscoring the global scale of enforcement against illicit energy shipments supporting restricted regimes. The seizure of the Marinera sparked fierce condemnation from Moscow and was followed shortly by a wave of large-scale Russian air and missile strikes across Ukraine, viewed widely as a retaliatory gesture in the ongoing standoff with the West. During those strikes, Russia used its nuclear-capable Oreshnik hypersonic missile to target the city of Lviv, located near Ukraine's western border with NATO territory, a move that alarmed European defense officials. The French Navy's latest action also comes against the backdrop of a sharp diplomatic dispute between U.S. President Donald Trump and French President Emmanuel Macron over their diverging foreign policy approaches. Trump publicly threatened to impose tariffs on French wine imports after criticizing Macron for his reluctance to support the U.S.-led Board of Peace coalition, which aims to manage post-war transitions and collective security frameworks. Later, Trump escalated tensions by releasing screenshots of private text messages purportedly exchanged with Macron, a move that further strained relations between Washington and Paris. Amid the controversy, President Macron addressed both the Russian tanker seizure and the tense exchanges with Trump, urging unity among allied nations while reaffirming France's right to act independently on issues of maritime security and sovereignty.
I think that first, we are meeting today in this informal European Council to show unity. The Europeans support Denmark, its territorial integrity, its sovereignty, and also to acknowledge that when Europe is united, strong, and reacts quickly, things return to order and calm. And I am pleased that we began the week with a form of escalation, threats, invasion threats, and terror threats. And we have returned to a situation that seems much more acceptable to me, even if we remain vigilant. And so what should be concluded is that when Europe reacts in a united manner, using the instruments at its disposal, and while it is threatened, it can make itself respected. And that is a very good thing. And therefore, it is a policy that France and the Europeans want to pursue. We are for peace, for stability. We want the international order to be calm. And when we are threatened or when one of us is subjected to pressures, constraints, it is normal that there is solidarity, that by using the instruments that are ours, we make ourselves respected. This is what happened this week. Now, we will discuss tonight, I think, the exercises that NATO will have organized. France is fully available to participate. I will also reiterate to the Danish Prime Minister our full support in the discussions that will need to be conducted, and we remain extremely vigilant and thus ready to use the instruments that are ours if we were once again under the threat of threats. It is also a good opportunity to revisit the situation in Ukraine, both our short-term financial and military support, the planning of the security guarantees that we agreed upon a few weeks ago in Paris. And I think in this regard it is also a good way to reconnect.
Do you think Mr. Trump acts or speaks like an ally or friend of Europe?
Listen, I am not here to judge. Things are calming down, and so we should be pleased about that. And I think that now, things need to be more stable and more predictable. That's what we all want.
Has Trump been able to give his agreement? And what role does access to resources play?
Listen, today there is a discussion that will begin within the framework of NATO for security, within the framework of the bilateral relations that exist between Denmark and the United States. And I think that everything related to sovereignty is part of this bilateral discussion, and in the hands of the Danes. It's not up to us, if I may say so, to speak in this regard. And so the principles remain the same. We must approach this with a lot of calm.
Tense exchanges at a distance with President Trump. What did you?
I don't know. That doesn't depend on me. Listen, I am extremely calm and consistent. I've been talking about European independence, European strategic autonomy for 9 years, respect for sovereignty everywhere. We do it in Ukraine. We do it for Palestine. We do it for Denmark. And we are predictable. Simply, we expect France to be respected, Europe to be respected. And whenever they are not, we will express ourselves and act with clarity.
Mr. President, you spoke about the ship, the tanker suspected of being Russian.
We continue to act with clarity there as well. We have explained that the Ghost Fleet was a problem for all of us because it allowed financing of Russia's war effort, and it contravened the rules and sanctions that we had decided. And so the French Navy acted in good order to enforce the law and to thwart the movement of a ship that precisely contributes to this phantom fault. So it's a good thing. It shows the effectiveness of the French Navy and the consistency of our effort.
Et la constance de notre effort. Merci beaucoup, monsieur.